Did we miss him?
No, he's here somewhere. He'll show himself. Now pay attention.
Wilmark pressed his hands together, pulling them slowly apart to reveal a glowing blue ball of light. Can I do that? Maggie watched, her eyes widening as the pulsing light swirled between the knight's hands. Wilmark shook his head.
Standard elven magic. You can do something like this with bubbles. It's how I tracked Simon Wesley to this plaza. There's a similar ball of energy, a smaller one trailing behind him, ever since he broke into your garage.
He what? Maggie put her hands on her hips, her fingers trailing along the top of her gun. I really need to get an alarm on that garage. The ball of light in the knight's hands suddenly grew darker, turning a deep purple. Wilmark jerked his head to the right, pressing his hands together and putting out the light.
There he is.
Wilmark pulled her back even deeper into the fading shadows, his long dark hair falling over his shoulder. Maggie felt a familiar urge to move in closer on a suspect, but the knight's large hand was gripping her arm, holding her back. Simon came into view, his coat pulled closed, the collar turned up against the bracing wind, and his hands were jammed into his pockets. He kept his head down except for the occasional quick glance in every direction, and he was moving at a fast clip. Maggie saw his pocket bulge, like he was grasping something inside, and she felt her muscles twitch, eager to take him down. He has the compass with him. Wilmark narrowed his gaze, studying Simon's movements, and saw his eyelids flutter over and over again.
Something is off. We're going to be cautious.
The knight looked around at the almost empty street.
No need to start a firefight on an open street.
You too? Do you have an entire set of rules as well? Maggie pressed her lips together and kept watching Simon, staying in the shadows. She could feel the pull of the compass and put out her hand without even thinking about it. Wilmark grabbed her arm again, lowering her hand. It was too late. Simon suddenly stopped in his tracks, close to the long, low waterfall that stretched along the entire back of the pavilion. He let out a surprised yelp and yanked his hand out of his pocket and shook it in the cold air. The noise of the falling water was making it difficult for him to detect any sound, but something was bothering him. He held out his hand, palm up, blowing a blood-red bubble that floated just above his hand. Wilmark tensed, letting out a low growl as his grip tightened around Maggie's arm. Maggie peeled his fingers off her arm and shot him a look. You're here as a courtesy, not as my babysitter.
I'm here to protect you. You don't understand what you're looking at. There is so much for you to learn.
I understand enough. Get this down now. We're allies, first and always. I'm willing to stand beside you, but not behind you. Maggie pulled out her gun, waiting. Wilmark crouched down, further into the darkness.
Simon is no longer an ordinary foe. He's practicing dark magic, some of the oldest kind. It's already taking him over.
He shook his head.
It takes a rare magical who can use blood magic and survive. Your gun is going to be useless against it.
Maggie furrowed her brow, putting her gun back in the holster. Even from this distance, she could see something was happening to Simon. His head jerked back and forth, left and right, and his eyelids bulged out in places, only to lie flat again. What the hell is that? Simon opened his eyes, his teeth clenched. A single bee emerged from underneath an eyelid and stood momentarily on his cheek before taking flight. He threw his head back, his arms straight out to the sides. Another bee emerged, followed by another, until a swarm was surrounding his head, carefully following the lines of his face and forming themselves to it, till all that could be seen were two dark eyes. Maggie's mouth was open in a perfect O, but she quickly shut it and felt herself relax into whatever was coming next. You find a solution by staying calm. That's one of my rules.